And continuing on with the God debate, we're carrying on with this part. This is part 4. This is the scourge of atheism. I call it atheism, a scourge on humanity. By current consensus, humans exist for one of 4 reasons: the product of an intelligent design provided by a supernatural deity known as God, which is my favorite; the design product of an alien intelligence. So we got a lot of science fiction fans probably like that one. The product of multiple universes, which science created this catch-all hypothesis to account for the endless unresolved issues and faults inherent in most God-excluding creation theory. So it's just kind of convenient catch-all. And then number 4, the undesigned product of an incalculable number of successfully fortunate, undirected, random atoms arbitrarily and inexplicably synthesizing into incomprehensibly elaborate, perpetually improving organic organisms via the unsolicited, synchronistic, and flawlessly symbiotic harmony provided by superfluously benevolent pre-existing energies, forces, fields, and quantum realms. In other words, blind luck on a statistically unconscionable scale. So impossible. Sorry, science. It's all we've been given as choices. And I'm not making that up. That's the choices we've been given, okay? You're going to have to start facing up to that. So think about which one makes the most sense. Atheists only outright reject number 1, God. That's not possible. They love number 4, okay? Again, in layman's terms, 4 simply means we're the product of an endless series of chemical coincidences and accidents. Accidents as likely as a tall, collapsing building falling down and forming 50 perfectly built houses from the rubble. It could happen, but who's stupid enough to think it actually would? On the other hand, atheists might buy it. I mean, they might believe that could happen. In my case, exposed to the incontrovertible evidence against organic life forming from lifeless matter over the last several years, I logically deduced the reality of an omniscient God is more reasonable than quadrillions of successive fortunate coincidences, and feel a sincere burden to articulate that conclusion. After all, I did teach math, and I taught probability as part of it. In that regard, if not for the irreparable damage to the fabric of our social mores, principles, and character I personally hold atheists accountable for, there's no way I would have engaged in this very intense, likely futile effort to expose their subversive intent and malevolent goals. However, ultimately concluding they have insidiously perpetrated a fraud on humanity, and many souls' eternal destinations are a concern of mine. And as a result, being a Christian and all, I felt obligated to jump right in and straighten everybody out on that. Obviously, I'm being facetious. The good news from my perspective is that many atheists are relatively young and can be reached still. After all, many began as impressionable victims of influential Svengali types such as college professors who ushered them into the atheistic fold, and the wisdom maturity brings can excise that. So basically, when they get older, they'll see through all of it. I do nonetheless consider a majority of them dangerous to the cause of Christ right now, in that they are very educated, and most of them are very intelligent, but also emotionally immature and psychologically vulnerable vessels capable of being manipulated into efficiently guiding their generational peers in the direction of rejecting God. Now, that's just because that's the way things are. This is a warning to anyone listening. These young have been primed from early on to idolize science and reject God in our mainstream public education factories, of which I taught in. Following that, colleges have continued poisoning their minds with godless fantasies being substituted as facts, and intricately sophisticated perversions of abstract reasoning have replaced critical analysis. Additionally, lifelong hedonistic socialization brought on by the removal of any references to God in public schools has eroded God's impact. Compared to the unseen and now unheard of deity, the allure of materialism and instant gratification with no obvious repercussions is far too great to resist. Why not atheism? With a huge assist from science, kids are indoctrinated into an education culture where humans are presented as nothing more than the end result of soulless chemical processes, and therefore, obviously, not accountable to a non-existent creator. For those perceiving themselves as nothing more than random chemical concoctions, as atheism teaches, and not the product of a divine spark, seeking only pleasure makes total sense. Hey, why not abortion? What's the difference? Fetuses, nothing but coagulated matter clusters. What's the big deal? And now it's on to part 5.